Hey guys, good morning. Actually, it's 2 something in the morning. What's it here? Central Standard Time, 2:05. And I've been researching the Isaiah Harris case, and um I really just figured I'd come live while I was going over some things about the Isaiah Harris case, and I came across this amazing podcast. I have it in the chat. The podcast is called Community Advocate Network, so we want to give them their flowers. They actually had an interview with Naziah Harris' family um, a year after she passed on. So I want to go over this. Make sure I put them in the link. Um, we're going to try to claim fair use just so we can do the commentary on it and go over some questions that they may have not. Scott, what are you doing up? Go to sleep. So, hey, Scott, go over some questions that I was listening to that maybe they didn't come up with at the moment because it's hard to interview. But we have her great aunt and an older cousin of Naziah here, and they're giving us a little bit more insight in the family dynamic. Now, if you didn't know, we covered Naziah Harris and her uncle um, Jarvis Butts, who's now charged with the crime of not only SA, but actually getting her pregnant, and she's still missing. Okay. He was the 5-time baby daddy of Shannon, right here, Naziah's auntie, who was the sister of Naziah's mother. In this case, is bringing up several things that we're going to be talking about in our on our YouTube. Just a discussion. You guys are welcome to have open discussions. Just a discussion. Things of such like, you know, not being able to talk in the household, being silent, um, who watches your kids. When is it okay to let your boyfriend meet your family, meaning the babies of your family, or your girlfriend? Because this happens to little boys as well. He, she, they. We're all inclusive over here on Burgundy Blue Commentary. Um, when is it okay? When do you see the signs? You go through your baby's phone. Things that maybe we could help younger people understand, as well as people that are just now dating, want to find something. Single fathers, single mothers, all the same. Okay. We're gonna also talk colorism. A lot of people blame Shannon and say she would have never got a man like Jarvis Butts with his pretty hair. We're going to talk uncomfortable discussions over here. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This little girl, the bottom line, no matter how you feel, the whole community failed her. But right here, we have some family members that were really trying to save poor Naziah, who has not been found. Also today, we covered Ayana, who had her uncle, and I'm doing air quotes, Uncle Jonathan. She was pregnant by him in high school, not been found. So this is going around. So we're just going to talk about those uncomfortable discussions in an adult manner. Okay, let's get to it. Hello, everybody that joined. CM Passion, Harem, how are you? At CM, if you feel the need, let me know. I'll drop the link. And here we go. Let's listen to the family speaking from Community Advocate Network. And shout out to them for getting the interview. I believe they're in Michigan as well. Okay.
What is some of her background? Just kind of fill us in on the truth of Nigeria.
You want to go first, Kimano, or you want me to go? Or
you can go. It's fine.
Naziah was sweet.
So just so you know, at the upper right we have Naziah's great aunt, and then the bottom left we have Naziah's one of her eldest cousin. Okay, so two women diagonal from each other.
She was quiet, affectionate, She was an innocent child. She loved to dance ever since she was small. 6 months old, she could dance better than most grown people. Really good in school, well behaved. She was isolated. So she didn't get the opportunity to even achieve her full potential.
Okay, Kawana, do you want to?
And I think me and CM Passion touched on that before as well. Isolation is a real thing. When they start isolating you, like Naziah, home, school, and around this grown man. The same thing with Ayana, auntie house around this grown man. They don't want these aunties don't want them to leave the house because they think trouble is on the outside, but the trouble really is in the home.
Share.
Yeah, she was, like she said, she was a really loving young lady. Um, she loved attention. Um, she loved being around family. She was the typical little girl. She really was. And as she said, she just didn't have, the proper support.
Okay, and I like to let the audience know, Nigeria. That name is kind of like a little different name for me, Nigeria. She was a 13-year-old, a young 13-year-old, coming home from school on the school bus, as any other child would have. And for what all we know,
And I think the host, she meant well. She really was saying Naziah. She couldn't get the name together, so you'll hear her mispronounce it several times. She just couldn't get the name together. She meant well, but I think the community advocate network, they got her on here to be a, you know, to be a voice, but that's the problem. That's just so y'all know. She's talking about Naziah.
for right now, that she never made it home. Nigeria was really just basically in the limelight that she was about to just go. Am I correct? Was she was going home, or was she going to visit? Can you kind of tell us something about her getting off the bus and what came next?
For what we understand, she was supposed to get off the bus and go home.
And you know what? I'm sorry. That's my pet peeve. Go ahead and correct her until she gets it right. Naziah. It takes me a long time to get names right. Gardis Watts, a guest on the show. I called him Garbus, Garden, whatever. It took me a long time. He corrected me every time. I have a good friend, Choose. Her name, I couldn't pronounce it. She gave me a way to pronounce it. So I think if you have a name, tell the people how to pronounce it.
We've been isolated from the family because of our feelings towards situations going on in the household. But basically what we got information from family members who have spoken to us, she was supposed to come home and she didn't.
Okay. She was supposed to come home and she didn't, and she's 13 years old. So how do you have any idea, Kawana, how long it was before anyone realized that she was not home? She did not come home or get off the bus to come home, to go home?
Honestly, I think it was too long before anyone in the house realized that she didn't get off the bus and come home, because I would have realized right away that my child wasn't walking in the door at the normal time that they usually walk through the door.
Okay, what was that time frame? Could you share with the audience the time frame before they really realized that she wasn't home?
Well, from what I read in like news reports and things like that, and the police that I talked to, she should have been arriving home a little bit after 3:00. I even went over there and sat on the corner of Cornwall and Auto Drive and watched the buses come. I wasn't exactly sure which bus she was on, but all the buses came within 2 to 3 minutes of each other and were gone by 3:10. So she should have been home between 3 and 3:15, because the house is right around the corner from the bus stop. Not even a 5-minute walk.
Literally.
So again, has anyone figured out the amount of time what was the time frame? that she
No, from what
actually became missing?
we know, they said that she went missing after getting off of the bus. That's all we know. We just learned recently that they didn't realize she was missing until around 6 o'clock.
And that's
Basically.
when was
Yeah.
the police called? Did the mother, the
No,
guardian notify the police?
No, all the information we received is that they claimed that they went to look for her, but no neighbors on that block. We went and asked when we passed out flyers. The neighbors on that block said they didn't even know a little girl was missing, especially not the little girl from that house, because they were familiar with that house.
Right.
They were familiar with the house.
Yeah.
Were there any other children, young children, older children in the house that you know of?
Multiple children frequent that household and live in that household. At least, let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 11 children.
Wow.
Have lived in that house recently. And currently there are 7 that live there and 2 others that may possibly still frequent that household.
One of the things, Lori, if I can interject for a second,
Yes.
one of the questions that is commonly asked in terms of the family, I want to, get through this and go on to some other things, but not only were there a lot of small children in the house, it has become public knowledge in terms of, number one, everybody knows Jarvis Butts, who is been identified as the suspect in this crime, and of course, as of today, has been bound over to trial to face all of those charges and even increased charges. The prosecutor added, or it upgraded, I think it's the better term, a charge today. So we are grateful for that. But one of the questions that I get a lot in the comments is asking about the grandmother's history in terms of her having her own children and how she was.
Okay, you guys, like I always say, viewer discretion advised, because this deals with family trauma, abuse, all of that stuff. We're going to get to the grandmother, because I don't know how this grandmother was able to get kids when she had problems raising her own kids. Does anyone know?
Able to get foster children, and then was Jarvis Butts living in the home or not? Things like that. If you guys could clarify for us any, whatever information you can share, because of course this is still an ongoing investigation. So we don't want to say anything that's going to interfere with that process, but anything that you guys can share in terms of the dynamics of the home, as far as the access maybe that Jarvis had to the children. You said how many children were in the house, but again, like I said, with the public already being aware that there was issues with the grandmother, would you either one of you know how she was able to bring in foster children in the home?
You want to answer that, Kiwana, or you want me to answer it?
It don't matter. You can answer.
Lies. She lied. And I'm assuming that foster.
And you know what? On this channel, we try to just like do the facts. But I will say, just my commentary and my experience covering this case, we could tell the grandmother be lying. When she got on that stand, and you guys, we're going to play the video of when she was going off on Nazaya and the other kids, getting them out there for breakfast. Yeah, she's good at doing interviews. She's really good at doing interviews. The grandmother.
Care didn't do a very good check on her. when she was able to even get custody of Naziah and her brother, as well as when she was able to get the other foster children she has cared for, as well as the 2 children that she fostered and has adopted.
And also, I would like to add, we found that she had only made them aware that she had 2 children, and she has more than 2 children. So I don't know if cases were missed from that. I'm not sure, but
she
yeah.
has 7 children, and from what I understand, I have people I know who work in foster care and things like that. They ask you about your children. They want to interview your children, see how your children are, how they turned out, where they life with, what type of upbringing they had. Well, unfortunately, out of her 7 children, the first one ran away at a very young age. The second one, he stayed home till 18 and went to school. Then Zaya's mother, she has had some difficulties in life and ran away at 13. Then the next child ran away at 16. Then the next child left at 17 or 18. And they just all have been going through some triumphs in their life that we feel they would have never had to go through if they had had better parenting. This is one reason why my father, my father and my grandmother tried to help Annette when she was young. And she wasn't receptive to the help that she received. My grandmother and father got her 11 years old. She was pregnant. My grandmother helped her get a husband.
Now, so they're saying the grandmother, Annette, was pregnant at 11 years old. I've seen it happen. I'm from Chicago. I've seen that. I've seen stuff like that happen. It's not supposed to. But then we go back to Naziah and how allegedly she was groomed by Jarvis Butts at what? 13, she was sending those messages and pregnant, and they're saying she was assaulted up to 2 years. You know what I mean? Before. So that's 11, and they are saying assumingly she might have been pregnant before. Now let's pull up a video of Annette and her favorite kids, and that's Shannon, who is Jarvis Butts. This is Shannon, Jarvis Butts, Naziah's auntie, Naziah's mother's sister, and her man. 5 kids down. Then this is Annette in the middle. Okay, Shannon, and then her twin sister. And Annette really didn't deal with Naziah's mother. They didn't have a good relationship. Now, how did Naziah end up in her care? Very interesting. Very interesting. So when you see things like that, and the rumors were that they're saying that allegedly Naziah they're saying allegedly that Naziah's mom was very smart. She ran away at 13, and because she was being abused in the home as well, she was a runaway, and Annette didn't like her because she couldn't control her. And she got out the home to tell people, hey, allegedly this is happening to me. This is happening to me in my home. And she took her baby with her. But the trauma just took over her, and I don't know how Naziah ended up back in Annette care. A baby at 11, all your runaway children, not being able to take care of them, this is something. But people are saying allegedly Annette is the reason Jarvis is around. That Jarvis possibly was having a relationship with Annette. This is very interesting. Let's continue.
The home paid for attorneys to help her get her baby because he ended up becoming a ward of the state because she was so young. and Annette just continued to be promiscuous and things like that. But she was a victim of a lot of trauma herself.
Yeah.
So her children, they have some issues too. Everybody got their problems, but it's to the extreme.
If I may ask, Deborah, I'd like to ask this question: how did the alleged accuser, how did he even come into contact? I'm trying to figure out, how did she get in contact with him? She lived in one residence and he lived in another. What was the connection of the contact?
As far as Naziah?
Yes.
Her aunt, my niece, her aunt Shannon, that was her boyfriend, the father of her children. Wherever Shannon was, he was.
Okay. So I guess a lot of the people, I'm getting some people are dinging me on the other end, but they're trying to understand. They thought that the child lived with the aunt.
No, Naziah was living with her grandmother, Annette. But Shannon was always over Annette's house prior to moving back in with her. I think she moved back in maybe August or something of 2023. She was living in a townhome that I let her go live in. She was living in a townhome. It was a Section 8 townhome. I incomed out of it when I graduated from nursing school. I signed it over to her thinking it would be a stepping stone to help her and her children. And we would keep it in the family, and maybe the next person who stepping stone to go finish school or whatever can use it. Well, Shannon got evicted from that townhome because of her and her shenanigans with.
We talked about this earlier. I knew it. And you guys, if you didn't know, I pinned the link in the comments. You can watch the whole interview without my commentary, but I have to do my commentary for fair use. So thank you for joining us. And this is very powerful. I knew it. So, if Jarvis was a SA offender, registered sex offender, he would not be able to be in subsidized housing or anything like that. And that was really thoughtful of Janelle to say, hey, I'll give you a leg up. Here's my townhome, and then you can hand it down to the next person. But no, Jarvis messed that up, and Shannon messed that up for her children. So, now we know how the townhome, how she had to move back in with her mom. This is sad.
Jarvis. So she ended up having to move back in with Annette sometime in August or September of 2023. That's how she got back in the home with Annette. But prior to that, Naziah.
And I'm willing to bet that Annette also was in subsidized housing. With 6 foster children. Yeah.
I was with Shannon all the time at her home. And Jarvis was where Shannon was when he was with Shannon and not the others that he was with.
Does anybody know how he was able to stay in the house with minors, being that he had been a sex offender, even imprisoned?
We were told that he was no longer on parole and that he could be around children. Yep. But I thought the law was that you can't even live in the vicinity of school. So how is it that you can live in a house with children that are not yours, which it really didn't matter if they was his or not? He violated them. So, but that's what we were told. Most recently, when all this stuff happened, they said that's why.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Kiwana.
We were told that most recently, and also I was told that upon me calling Protective Services while Shannon was living in Clinton Township, my question to them was just that: why and how is he allowed to be around the children? Because we kept constantly being told that they're not finding any signs of abuse. And so that was one of my questions. Well, there's a pedophile in and out the home, right, basically living there, on a regular basis. Isn't that enough? And that's what they told me, that it wasn't.
I want to get off into that too, in terms of the CPS cases. I want to cover that. But now I think I remember correctly, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, that there was something, or at some point, Jarvis was not on the registry, sex offender registry. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, when I initially found out that Jarvis was a sex offender, it's almost 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I asked Shannon about it. She didn't tell me. I stumbled over it because of a situation where he had got arrested and had her daughter in his custody at that time. He had the child, and we had to go get the baby because he got arrested. So I was looking him up to see what he got arrested for. Then it popped up his Otis information saying that he was.
And that's what we were talking about. How many people failed this baby? They didn't even have him registered.
Sex offender and had sexually assaulted a child under the age of 13. And I looked at Shannon and I was like, Shannon, he's a sex offender. Yeah, he said the girl lied. I'm like, it says the girl was 13, and then I did the math on his age. I said he was 24. So it ain't no lie there. Yeah, but he did his time. And I'm like, nah, nope. I was like, you need to leave him alone. Over the course of the years, I would tell her, you need to leave him alone. He was not good to her. He did not treat her well. He did not teach the children well at all. He fathered them. He created them, but he was not a father figure that I would have tried to hang on to for the kids. But anyways, I called. Well, I looked on the sex offender registry and saw that he was not on there. So I called, and that's when they went after him. And eventually, maybe about 6 months later, he had to report. They registered him, and he ended up on the sex offender registry. But
so he was supposed to be on the registry the whole time.
The whole time, and this was like 12 years ago. But get this, his last report is 2019. He hasn't reported for the sex offender registry since 2019. So he probably wasn't reporting it very often in between those times either.
Yeah. So you said he fathered some children. So you're saying that in the time frame that he was with your stepsister?
No, he was with my niece Shannon.
Your niece Shannon, that he actually fathered some children in the home or outside the home?
He has 5 children with Shannon. It was almost 6.
Oh, okay. And okay.
Yeah. There's a question though that popped up as well in the comment section about him having 13 children.
He has more than 13.
I've listened to other podcasts covering the story, and
so you guys, we're finally gonna get the answer. I had some answers in my chat, and thank you for you guys telling me. And I had some answers in the chat, so thanks for telling me. And then I had some answers in the comments, and they said it was way over 20. Let's see.
And I heard the number 20.
He has more than 20 children.
He has more than 20 children.
He has adult children that are almost the age of Shannon.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
What is she, in her early 30s, right?
Shannon's 31, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think his oldest daughter is around the age of 26, 27. He's my age. He's 42.
Yeah. Because even the judge said it in her ruling that he had 13 children. And I think it came from that interrogation he did with the detectives. And I guess maybe he only claims 13 of them.
That's his lucky number. He says that all the time.
Oh, yeah. I thought I remember hearing the number 20. But as far as that is concerned, he has other children with underage girls.
From what I understand,
he already has, right?
Yeah, from what I understand, his older children were all with girls in their teens, and he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
And then along the time when Shannon was dating him and they was going back and forth with each other, there was a young lady who was like 18 who said that her child was his. I don't know whatever came along with that, but yeah, it's possibly she's one of the young ladies that's listed on the front of the court registry.
So do you think, I guess I might, Deborah, please don't let me get ahead of myself, but I have to ask this question. Did Nazia, did she ever show or talk or say anything to anybody? I mean, any hints,
Yes, she
the
did.
world wants to know. I mean, this
Yes,
is
she
a
did.
young 13-year-old child, and from my understanding, this took place a year ago. Today,
she told.
correct?
No,
she
she
did
told.
tell.
It all started, my issue, me and Shannon were thick as thieves. I loved the children. I would go around, went to Disney World, we traveled together. Then she called me and told me that it was a birthday party in February of 2022 for her second daughter's birthday. And most of the children, pretty much all the children were at the house, the grandchildren. There was one little girl who was another, Annette's other sister's daughter was there. Now, this child had never been around Jarvis alone before. Or I think she might have been at the birthday party or something, an adult birthday party, but it was at a hall. But she was at Shannon's home, and this young lady was so afraid. Shannon's telling me this. She ran upstairs, frantic and afraid and scared, and wanting to go home and wanted to call her mother because Jarvis touched her inappropriately while she was in the basement playing with the puppy. While this little group, now Jarvis was on the game, he wasn't thinking about going up there with Shannon or nothing. Shannon says all of a sudden, while she's up there, she's trying to calm this little girl down and talk to her, Jarvis comes and knocks on the door and says, "What's wrong with her?" And I said, "Shannon, why are you calling me? Is he dead or is he in jail?"
Mm-hmm.
No, he left. What you mean he left? Call the police. Let them know where he's going, what car he's in.
Right.
Well, I'm about to take her home, then I'm going to call my mama. What? So I called her back like maybe 30 minutes later. Like, did you call the police?
Oh, that's the cover up when you call the mama, because the mama already know how to read the room, right?
No, my mama said bring the kids home tomorrow morning. She gonna talk to them. I'm like, no, y'all don't need to talk to them. You need to contact the police. She did not contact the police. I found out later the police were never contacted. The next day when I called Shannon, I talked to her. She said, my mama talked to them and said the kids end up telling us they lied. They was mad because he wouldn't give them no money. So I called Annette and I said, Annette, are you guys going to call the police? She said, yes, we're handling. I'm going to call the police. So I left it alone. Like, she going to call the police. Shannon assured me that the police had been called. They were involved. There was an investigation going on, all of this. This was in February 22. Well, in April of 22, I called Shannon in a lie. The police were never called. The children were not receiving counseling. Nothing had happened. So I went to the Clinton Township Police and I told them that I wanted to make a report. They told me I couldn't make a report because I didn't have enough information about the child who actually accused him of the sexual abuse. I said, but the other children also accused him of sexual abuse. They said, well, they didn't happen that night.
Bless her heart.
And I'm like, he said it would probably be best for you to call CPS. So I called CPS and I told Shannon I called CPS.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if y'all didn't call, I told you to call the police. I told you to get the kids help. You didn't do it. So I'm calling CPS on not only you, but I'm calling them on your mama too. Because it happens, whatever's happening at your house is most likely happening at your mother's house. They never called. And then that's when Kiwana got involved. I didn't, my husband knew what was going on. And a few other people who knew Shannon because she had told them stories.
Mm-hmm.
But this is how Kiwana got involved. So I'll let Kiwana tell what happened on her end.
So then I end up going over there to drop off Nazia some clothing. And once I got there, Shannon pulled me to the side and said, I gotta tell you something. And I go, okay, what's going on, little cuz? And she said, that Janelle and called protective services on me and lied and said that Jarvis was doing something to the kids. I said, It's what? What do you mean she called protective services to say Jarvis was doing something to the kids? How would that come about? So that's when she went to tell me, well, it was a party, and she explained that what happened at the party, and that they end up questioning the children, and her daughter, along with Naziah, along with my other little cousin, which I've never met, had expressed to her that Jarvis offered them monies to do things inappropriately. She said, however, she found later on that her daughter was lying. And I said,
Oh no.
Shannon, kids don't lie about stuff like that. But a child not gonna come and tell that something like that happened.
And that, how many years have we heard that, where people are like, they're lying, they're lying, they're lying. Like, we're doing part one of this. We're just gonna do 40 minutes, and then we'll pick up tomorrow on the rest of it. I want to reach out to the Community Advocate Network to let them know I was covering this first, just for fair use. But that the story was very important to get out. And this is the cousin on the right, in bottom right, and the great aunt on the bottom left. This is very interesting.
And just be lying. You need to further investigate. No, that Janelle just trying to start some stuff. I said, no, I don't feel like she trying to start no stuff. I feel like she care and concerned about what's going on in the household as far as the children. This is outside of you and her relationship. This is about looking out for the children. And so we began to go back and forth. And I became, what she like to call it, the op, being as though now I'm taking up for the kids. So I contacted Janelle and said, what's going on? Because we hadn't talked for a little while. And I said, explain to her what I had heard and what Shannon had said. And she told me what happened and what transpired. So that's when I called Protective Services.
Could you tell me the length of time it was before either one of you called? Because it seemed like it was a long stretch before the police
initial
and Child Protective Services was notified.
The initial incident happened in February of 2022. I was told that the authorities were involved. When I found out that the authorities were not involved, Shannon was lying to me.
22 or 24?
22.
22.
Okay.
So in April of 22, I figured out another incident happened where a child was doing some sexually inappropriate things. And I said, well, what's going on with the case? And isn't she in counseling? And you need to go to the police and take the phone. She sending pictures to somebody on Instagram. She had told somebody else. She tell people this stuff like it's nothing. Like it's the normal everyday thing. She told somebody who wouldn't even related her to this story, and they called me to tell me what she said. And then I called her to ask her about it. So that's when I called CPS in April, when I found out she had lied to me.
April of which year?
2022.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then Kiwana called me. I don't even think it was like maybe 3-4 weeks later.
And Lamont, I agree. Everyone has an issue with child predators. This case was just a wake-up call. Everyone needs to be aware, for sure, of what can happen. This was definitely a wake-up call. Thanks for your comment.
Kiwana called. Other family members had already called and were calling when all of this was going on because I wasn't getting any response from CPS. The CPS worker that I talked to told me the children denied it. I said, so look at the adults. If the children are not going to tell you I said, would you take the children out of the household and question them? No. I'm like, because they're afraid to say anything because they're in the Shannon and Annette looking right in their face. Then I said, if the children are not going to tell it because they're afraid, then start looking into the adults. Well, we haven't found any credibility of the complaint.
Even with him in the house, been imprisoned.
She told me that
for-
he was not on parole and he could be in the house around children.
But he had been to prison for the same accusation. No,
Yes.
not accusation. He was convicted,
He was convicted
and
Yes.
imprisoned
And
for the same thing.
This is what troubles me. I made this complaint in April of 2022. And there were several other complaints by myself, Kiwana, and other family members after that. This man had a CPS case basically stating the same thing in 2015 and 2018 from completely different families.
Yeah, sure did. And also
known girlfriends.
Sure did. Sure did. And after I end up calling Protective Services, one of the children had began to contact me and express things that were going on in the house, right? Because I talked regularly with the children, even when they tried to isolate me. I'm not gonna say names of the children, but one of the eldest children would try to contact me, or contact me outside of their knowledge. It began them having to sneak and call me now because they don't want us around. We get in their business. We're calling Protective Services, and so I went on to talk to workers, try to get custody, continue to call. I made calls not just in Wayne County, but again in Clinton Township. So there was calls, Clinton Township, Wayne County. The Clinton Township calls was against Shannon. Wayne County was against Auntie and that household. And then both stories were being told to both Protective Services, that city and in that city. And
yep. And we did get a little bit of action. A little bit of action when.
Bless all the people that did try. I know how frustrating it probably is that they did try to get help and no one believed them.
It was another young man who was much older than Isaiah that she was acquainted with. And that's the reason why Annette had to move, is what I was told. She had to move away from that young man because Naziah was having an inappropriate relationship with him. And that's the reason why.
Is this the autistic guy?
Yes. And then I also was told that they told Shannon at this point that Jarvis could not come around the children.
Who told her that?
CPS.
Okay.
This is what I was told by someone. I don't know for sure, but this is what I was told by someone at CPS, that Shannon, he was not supposed to be around the children at that point, because I guess we had called so many times.
Right. Oh, yeah. I want to go back to something real quick when Lori was asking about if Naziah had said anything or that gave any type of inclination that anything was wrong. And I want to mention this from the court proceedings that have been going on this week, when the teacher or substitute teacher testified that the last day was, I presume it was the last day that Naziah was in school. She came in her room. Apparently this particular sub had a rapport with Naziah. She would give her candy every day or something like that. And she would come in her room and talk to her. And the lady said that Naziah laid on the floor and said she needs to see a counselor. But it so happened that the counselor never came in that day.
What?
And so, and of course, we didn't see her anymore. So that was one thing. And then I wanted to ask you guys about this. If you were aware of this that I heard on one of the videos from another podcast. It said, that Naziah was telling her classmates that she was planning to run away because she was pregnant. Had you guys heard anything about that?
Yeah, we heard so much. That was after she went missing. So yeah, we've heard that. We have heard every accusation, scam. Yeah, we heard that.
Okay. I wanted to clear that up. And then Also, now I believe Kiwana, you pretty much grew up around Nazia's and Nazia's mom and being close to in the unit, and being in Nazia's life actively. Well, I guess both of you were in her life actively up until the cases being filed and whatever rift caused the family to that broke down the family. So can you talk about, Kiwana, how well, first of all, let's clarify for the public how long Jarvis has been around, because the information that is out there, only indicates from, that he started abusing Nazia back in as far back as 2022, but there's a question that it may have probably more than likely had gone on much longer. So let's establish for them, exactly how long, when did you all become aware that he was around, like when Shannon was dating him and all of that, those types of things? To give, to clarify. Basically, I want to get rid of some misinformation that's out there.
So go ahead.
No, good. Yeah, Kiwana.
So, Jarvis have been around since Shannon was 16, right?
We didn't know about it until later, but after she had her daughter, he had been. We found out during this whole ordeal that she had been acquainted with him since she was about 16.
Right. And we had no clue, not just that he was the age that he was, but no clue that he had a record,
Right. Yeah, but and I think that's
a record of being a pedophile.
So
let me say that.
Right.
We're watching this together. They said that they failed to report his status for years. So one of the great aunt had to go to report Jarvis' status. It wasn't being reported. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because that's a lot of the thing is, where was the family? Oh, and the other thing is, let's clarify, and we don't have to go into extensive details about her mom, but can we please clarify, just a general idea of her mother and the father? We know that the father did pass away last year, but if you guys can share with us just a little bit, just to put that to rest so that people understand what the dynamics are.
I'll speak on her mother because I really didn't have a relationship with her father. Kiwana knows him better than I do. Her mother loved her. She loved her children. She just had, like I said, she grew up with Annette in a household, and she went through the same.
And y'all, that's what it seemed like. Annette was the problem, and they let children be in Annette care. Like her children had an issue running away, on mentally, on substance abuse, things of that nature. Annette was a problem, and they gave Annette another generation of children.
Thing at 13 as Nazia. So, she had a lot on her, and no one ever got her help. So, and she loved her children. She just couldn't fight those demons that were chasing her. When all this stuff was going on with Nazia, we finally caught up with her because people were lying, and specifically Annette and people in the family were saying that she just left. She never left. She said, I'm staying here until y'all find out what happened to my baby, but she just staying out the way because Annette was trying to say she had something to do with it. Other people were trying to say when actually she was the first person to give the police the information that they needed to try to figure out what happened to Neziah.
Oh, wow.
But when we found her just talking to her, she said, this stuff just keep on falling, this sex stuff. She said, it's just keep on chasing me. It's chasing me. Now it's got my baby.
Oh my God.
So
this is really sad. This is, I mean, something not to, I hate to, I'm not trying to cut you off, but it's just a whole lot going on in my head right now because working in early childhood development and I'm thinking 10, 12-year-old girl. I mean, I have 10 and 12-year-old children in my after school, before and after school program, summer camp, and all of this. So I'm saying to myself, where was the indication at school that something was going on with Neziah?
There were several indications in school, but the school would call Annette instead of going through the proper channels. You tell me this, if a child is on the playground and a car pulls up to,
I agree, Lamont. You know, this is a real problem. I remember going to prom, and if you went to prom, if your date was over 18, they had to fill out a certain ticket. Your date shouldn't be over 18 if you're in high school, right? But this is the thing. Jarvis was able, people saw Neziah get in and out of Jarvis' car or whatever car he had. They saw her playing around Jarvis, and they just said that's her uncle. It wasn't cool. And then Annette, if you just, the grandmother, if the school called the grandmother know how to get around the system. Part 2 tomorrow, we're going to do the video of Annette yelling at Neziah and the rest of the kids to get the hell out the house in the morning. And it's on a Facebook Live by Shannon, which is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I cannot wait to share it with you tomorrow. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, set an alert, because we'll be going over that tomorrow.
A vicinity where the child can talk to them through a fence. And the child is talking to them, and the teacher goes over and say, hey, who are you talking to? And the guy says, I'm her dad. And the child agrees, yes, that's my dad. Do you call the grandmother, or do you make a report as well as calling the grandmother?
No, in that case, no, until I get the child information card and verify who that father is with the identification, he would leave until he's ID'd.
Well, he pulled off once the teacher started questioning him. And then when they talked to Annette, she referred that Neziah did not have a relationship with her father. So what did they do after that? Like, for the safety of not only Neziah, I feel like some type of report or police report should have been made for the safety of any other child he may have came back and tried to talk to. Because they didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I would think that it would have at least been documented that an adult male was spotted, observed, interacting with the child in the schoolyard or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think that the school, it's clear that the school just
didn't follow proper protocol.
They weren't paying attention at all.
It's unbelievable.
Before you leave,
we're
going to come back tomorrow as well. I agree. Hug and kiss the people you love and check on your family members. Yes, we went through the text messages as well. I'm going to do a playlist so you guys can see it. It was so disturbing. So disturbing. And can you imagine how impressionable you are at 11, 12, 13 living in a household like that? You guys will pick it up tomorrow. Thank you to what was the name of this brand? I'm so sorry. Let's make sure we give them Community Advocate Network. Thank you for this interview from Neziah's family. We'll cover more on what Neziah's family has to say. Everyone felt this little girl, from CPS to the school system to her family. Everyone felt her. Everyone felt. I mean, Jarvis just being around was a problem. Lamont, if you have time, check out our video where we did Uncle John. This is Jonathan, Uncle Jose. He did the same thing. Mechanic, young niece, married into the family, got her pregnant. She's missing, never recovered. The same as Naziah. You guys, thanks for sticking up with me. We'll keep on tomorrow. We got a lot of things coming to the channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna finish with the Naziah. May her soul be at rest. I do not know what to say because we haven't found her, so I don't know if I should say rest in peace. May she be found. I do not know what to say about this child. But God bless her. That's what I do feel to say. Also, we'll be covering Donald Trump and King anniversary. So Donald Trump inauguration, Martin Luther King anniversary. It's going to be the same day. We'll be having a special on that. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications. And I appreciate you so much. Until next time, you guys make sure you take care of yourself and each other. And I am definitely with Lamont. Hug the ones you love.
Commentary blue, commentary, burgundy, commentary, comment blue, commentary, comment